Hoop fans, we back with another episode. It's your boy K Rose, and my boy here is
What's up, y'all? It's Matt.
my guy Matt. We hoop fans, you know what I'm saying? So, bro, let's get right to it. Let's get right to it. It's gonna be a little bit shorter of an episode, so let's just get through all the topics and have some fun with it. So, hot off the presses, bro. Hot off the presses. So I got a question for you. The notorious B.I.G. infamously said, "What's beef?" And that's pretty much what's going on in the NBA world recently. Last night, the Grizzlies and the Mavericks they played a game, and if for anyone that doesn't know what we're speaking of, we're talking about the Ja Morant Klay Thompson beef that is brewing as we speak. So, after the game last night, the Grizzlies and the Mavericks played. Mavericks lost 102-96. And after the game, there was a confrontation of sorts between Ja Morant and Klay Thompson. No altercation physically, but a confrontation, a lot of jawing back and forth, had to be separated. And it was a big deal after the game. Klay Thompson, he had a really good game last night playing in the game. John Morant is actually injured and he was in street clothes. So this was after the game. So further background, after the game, Klay Thompson was being interviewed and he had a few choice words and comments for John Morant. He called Morant a funny guy, especially for a guy that rarely takes accountability. He said that Morant has a lot to say, just running his mouth. He's been running his mouth for a long time. And he also added that it's funny when you run your mouth when you're on the bench. He basically called John Morant a disappointment, saying that he's just been letting a lot of other stuff get in the way of his talent. And he basically said that to be a star, it comes with great responsibility, and he hates to see that go to waste. And lastly, he said that a lot of the comments that John Morant directed towards him after the game was nothing of intelligent depth. In the video, John Morant, you can see him verbally saying that Klay was a bum. You're a bum. So, bro, talk to me. Have did you see all of the commotion from the Grizzlies Mavericks game? And give me your take on it. We can start off with, well, whose side are you on?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely on Klay Thompson's side on this one. I think it's a no-brainer. It's just he said nothing wrong, obviously, in the post-game rap, with reporters about what was said and how that dispute even happened. I think this is another case where John Morant takes an L. Like he's going out sad, in my opinion. Like he's bringing all this on himself. And it's you said you bring up that Ja said that Clay's a bum. I also saw the video on Instagram where he supposedly had you can see him mouth something along the lines of like you're dating a man in regards to Clay dating Megan Thee Stallion, which is a weird low blow.
Did you see that? Are you sure, bro?
Yeah, bro. Check the source. I mean, I don't know if he actually said that, but people were saying that's what he said. Um,
I don't know about that. I didn't see. I personally did not see that video.
I
So,
gotta show it to you. Yeah,
so there
that's
was a
that's
video. Yeah, there's a video. Hold up, bro. Let's pause this right here. Let me go check that. Hold up.
all right. I think I sent it to you, bro.
So we had to verify. Now we don't know. We can't say for sure exactly what John Morant said because it was hard to hear in the videos that we saw. I took the video to say that he was just calling Klay Thompson a bum. He may have said something different. He could have said the Megan Thee Stallion thing. I think that's a bit extreme, though, bro.
Yeah, after further look, it does. I feel like it could be either way, if like depending on how you say it. But yeah, no, it does to me now look appear like he's saying you're a bum.
That just added
So
a whole another layer to this
we don't
topic
want to
because
we
yeah,
don't want
because
to stir up any trouble or anything like that, y'all. So we're
yeah,
just
but
gonna.
I like where conversation should go. So we'll put a pin in that and come back to it. So you keep going, bro. So you were talking about Klay Thompson, and you're on Klay Thompson's side.
Yeah. I just feel like he said nothing wrong. I feel like
What specifically do you agree with in terms of his commentary on Ja? What specifically do you agree with?
him talking about people talking from the bench. Ja hasn't played in so long, and Clay's like he kind of followed up with a positive, remark of somewhat respect, talking about like he does want to see him play and like, kind of the superstardom that he d does have and possibly still can have. Um, yeah, I mean, I just think that Clay took it an ultra respective way, but was spitting facts at the end of the day, just with also Clay was not wrong with saying there was no intelligent depth there because I mean. all Ja did was he was just hooting and hollering and put his finger in his face, which is like a disrespectful move, like regardless of what's being said on the court. Like so yeah, man, like all across the board, I feel like Clay did
Okay.
nothing wrong. Like I don't know what else. I mean, what how did it even spark? I didn't see that part. Like how
And
did
I
it
was just
see?
about to get to that because I didn't actually intro the topic very well. So all of this stemmed from obviously the Grizzlies played the Mavericks last night as of this recording, and this all stemmed from an incident where Cooper Flag, I don't know if it was a turnover or a missed shot, but Cooper Flag, rookie star for the Mavericks, and Santi Aldama from the Memphis Grizzlies, role player forward, they were the last two people in transition on a change of possessions. So when the possession changed and everybody was running the other way, it was just Cooper Flag and Santi Aldama on the one end of the court. Santi Aldama was laying on the ground. Cooper Flag made an attempt to get up and then run to the other end of the floor. Santi Aldama, for sure, made a dirty play and pulled at Cooper Flag's leg. From that point on, it was a foul. From that point on, Klay Thompson kind of was sticking up for Cooper Flag, trying to be that veteran, that enforcer of sorts, getting in Santi Aldama's face. And from that point on, from what I understand, the game was very chippy. Vince Williams, another forward on the Memphis Grizzlies, him and Klay Thompson got back and forth. They got into it because Klay Thompson felt like he flopped on a play. So they got chippy. And then it was a very close game. So once the game ended, it was still a lot of like chippiness and beef between the two teams. And that's when John Morant and Klay Thompson got into it and had their exchange. So just
Mm,
to give some context, I'm gonna
okay.
be honest with you, bro. I'm not on Klay Thompson's side. I'm not on Klay Thompson's side at all, actually. Um, let me clarify. I agree with some of his statements, right? I agree with some of his statements that he made to the media after the game. I do not agree with him taking everything that happened and giving his commentary to the media after the game. To be honest with you, bro, what Klay Thompson did last night was corny to me. Very, very
Mm,
corny to me. I think that an exchange like that, trash talking is going to happen in basketball, right? We've all played at a certain level of hoops. Trash talking happens, right? And normally, if it's a basketball game and things didn't get physical, it should stay on the court. You know what I mean? Once the game is over, we have a little issue, we have a little exchange verbally. That should really stay on the court. Leave it there. I don't necessarily respect Klay Thompson taking it from the court and bringing it to the media and putting it on a public display. That's number
right.
one. So I don't respect that, right? Because you and Ja had it back and forth. Let's keep it between y'all. Also, how about you say those things? Now, I'm sure he verbalized some of the things that he stated to the media, but really, that's something you should tell Ja if you feel that type of way. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of his comments could have been directed and told to Ja directly in some other way outside of the media and for the whole world to hear. That's
Hmm.
number two. Um, Number three, I didn't like some of the things he stated, right? And I don't think, for example, you brought up the intelligent depth, right? And I made it a point to highlight that particular comment because the reporter asked Klay and they said, "What did Ja Morant say to you?" Basically, he just said nothing of intelligent depth. In my opinion, you got to be careful when you say certain phrases and certain things, right? Especially when you're saying it to the world. I feel like Klay is a vet and is better than that. What does Klay Thompson look like, right? We know that Klay Thompson. I'm gonna just keep it super real with you, bro. I'm gonna keep it super real with you. Klay Thompson, he's mixed, right? He's biracial. Black father who played in the NBA. I believe he has a white mother. John
Hmm.
Morant, for what we know, is a black man. He's a black man, correct? In my opinion, I feel a little bit of a way when a reporter asks you what did John Morant say, and you say something like not of intelligent depth. Because to me, while it may just be a surface level comment for Klay Thompson and he's just taking a dig, I think you got to be careful with that, right? Because in my opinion, people who are already looking for a reason to not like Ja for maybe how the way he conducts himself as a black man, when you say certain phrases such as intelligence, when you bring up certain things like intelligence or like just certain phrases like that, in my opinion, you run the risk of it becoming deeper than what you actually intend to say. right? When
Hmm.
you know what I mean? There's already
Yeah.
detractors who look at Ja Morant and some of his actions as an athlete and they question his intelligence, right? And some of the criticism that goes Ja Morant's way may be warranted. It is definitely warranted at some level, but a lot of people may use that as an excuse to go too far. And I think that Klay Thompson's comment of intelligent depth, nothing of intelligent depth. You got to be careful, and I think that was a little out of bounds.
Hmm.
I just think that was a little out of bounds. Um, I think even if we agree with some of the things that Klay has stated, I just think the manner in which he went about criticizing and really putting John Morant on the forefront in this way, I just think it was out of bounds, bro. Especially when it was just trash talking.
Hmm. Yeah, I can see where you're going. I see what you mean by that. And I think initially when I agreed with Clay when he was talking about nothing of intelligent depth, I had already made my mind up that he was talking about Clay's girlfriend. And that's what I meant when he said I was under the belief that he said that.
Okay.
So
See, that makes
that
sense.
yeah, and that to me obviously is there's nothing that's nothing but just like nonsense, really. So that's how I took him saying that.
Okay.
But what you're saying completely makes sense, bro. And it can already build to a narrative that's already there. You know,
Exactly.
Clay's platform is bigger than probably he even knows it. And people listen to him and they're like, oh, like you said, a biracial guy can kind of paint this picture of a non-biracial, black guy about, what he's, excuse me, what he's doing in life right now. And if whether, however it's portrayed, like he has some say in that, I guess.
Yeah. And I want to be clear. Clay's black. And not that, we hoop fans, so we don't want to take it too deep, right? Right.
Right.
It's just I gotta be real about it. Clay's a black man. You know what I mean? In my opinion, it made me think like certain comments like that, I don't know if the phrase is buzzwords or like you
Hmm.
just got to be careful, right? Because is Clay is perceived a certain way, right? Like he's a black man. Let's get it correct. But he's perceived a particular way compared to
Hmm.
someone like Ja Morant, right? Like their
Like white
personalities.
favorism. He could get
Yeah,
white
there's
favorism.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
Clay's white passing because he's a white man at
Right.
the end of the day, right?
Hmm.
So and he's looked at a certain way because of all his credentials, right? He's a four-time champion, all-star, hasn't been in any trouble. You know what I mean? This is the spiciest we've ever seen Clay's off the court persona in terms of dating someone like a Megan Thee Stallion. Outside of that, we know Clay to be uh, riding around in boats, fishing. That's what we know of Klay Thompson. You contrast it with John Morant, who can get the narrative, gun toting, wild, reckless, dreads, in trouble, suspended a lot. Like it's two completely different narratives. And I just think you have to be careful. And in my opinion, um, even even with a lot of the things that Clay stated that is kind of true, I agree. John Morant hasn't handled his stardom very well at all, right? He hasn't handled his stardom very well. He hasn't been responsible with his stardom, right? Um, John Morant is known to talk trash a lot, right? And at a certain point, it does get to a point where it's like you have to sort of accomplish some things, um, team wise and individually before you can really continue to keep this trash talk up. I feel like a lot of hoop
Hmm.
fans are kind of we're like, all right, Ja, like we get it. You talk, but we need you to back it up. And you've had a
Right.
lot of instances these past few years where you're not backing it up. This season, you're not backing it up. So a lot of hoop fans are frustrated. But even with all that being said, I just think that this is a dangerous game that Clay is playing. You know, um. So I'm on John Morant's side a little bit more, right?
Okay.
Let me ask
Yeah.
you. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, kind of making it on a lighter note. Also, there's no love lost between Klay Thompson and the whole Grizzlies franchise. Let's make no mistake here, Hoop fans. He did send them home in the 2022 playoffs.
Yes, he did.
Had 30, had 30 that last game to send him home, and a 4-2 win in that series. So the Grizzlies probably hate his guts. John Moran included. So I just want to add that in there.
No, you're absolutely right. On a basketball tip, this just makes sense. It's been a rivalry for a few years now, like you said, playoff meetings, play-in meetings. Like
Right.
they've had some battles, right? When Klay Thompson was in Golden State. So there, like you said, there's no love lost. There's a history there. And Klay Thompson alluded to that, saying that, we've battled back and forth, and he has more respect for the Grindhouse Grizzlies versus the current iteration, the John Morant Grizzlies of these past few years. So off of the deeper stuff, let's get to a little bit more lighthearted basketball things. I then saw a lot of talk on the internet regarding this as far as does Ja Morant, basketball wise and credential wise, does he even have a right to talk trash to a Klay Thompson? As I stated, 4-time champion, 3-point specialist, probably will be a top 100 player of all time in 25 years when that comes out.
Hmm.
Does he even have the right where his career stands to even talk trash and call Klay Thompson a bum?
Does he have the right? I mean, I would say really anybody has the right, to
Okay.
talk trash to anybody. Um, I don't I don't want people to think that John Morant's just some bum. Like John Morant's John Morant. I feel like at some point I feel like he can back his talk up. Maybe not this season, for other reasons. But yeah, I think that he has there's room for him to talk. I mean, he's hasn't done much in the NBA, but what he has done, it's been pretty special, I think. Like individually, I mean, not maybe team wise, but
I mean, here's the thing. John Morant, he's drafted in 2019. So let's break it down. Who's the better player right this second, bro?
all
John Morant
time,
or Klay Thompson?
all time,
No, no,
or
no, no,
just
no. Right currently, right now, who's a better player?
I mean, John Morant is a better player right now.
John Morant, in my opinion, is a better player than Klay Thompson right now.
Yeah, I
So
don't think there's really a debate for that.
so on face value alone, if John Morant is saying you're a bum at this current time, and we agree that he's a better player, that means, simply put, he can call Klay Thompson a bum.
Yeah, yeah,
He
we put it
listen.
that way.
We played basketball. I cannot call Klay Thompson a bum. Outside of, like, as far as being a hooper, I cannot call Klay Thompson a bum. Klay Thompson is better at basketball than me right now. Can you call Klay Thompson a bum right now?
I cannot call Klay Thompson a bum,
No, we cannot call Klay Thompson a bum because we're not better than Klay Thompson at basketball right now. We're
especially
podcasting.
especially when I call myself a great value Klay Thompson.
Exactly, bro. And when we know great value, it means cheaper, right? So we're
Right.
we're both not better at basketball than Klay Thompson, so we can't call him a bum. But if we agree that John Morant is better currently than Klay Thompson, that means he can call him a bum. Number one. Number two, in terms of the accolades, I feel like a lot of hoop fans feel that when you achieve certain highlights in your career, like Klay Thompson, 4-time champion, as I continue to state, right?
Mhm.
Basically he varied between the second best player and the third best player for a dynasty, the Golden State Warriors in their heyday. When you achieve certain success like that, people feel that other players in the NBA should have a certain level of respect no matter what. It, while I agree to an extent, I agree to a certain extent. I just don't know if I agree all the way to the point where you can't talk trash to those players.
Yeah, I see. I'm kind of on the other end of that. I feel like with a guy like Klay Thompson, it's a what have you done lately in the league type of thing. And
Okay.
if you haven't done a lot lately and all you're doing is just, carrying championships. Now, granted, it wasn't that long ago, like his last championship, but it feels like it was a long time ago just from where he was in 22, or was that 20? That was 20, like 21,
22. That was
22.
22.
Yeah, 21, 22 versus now. Like it just feels like he has become a bum. I hate to say that, but like, so now for a case like an all-time superstar, it's like that respect is going to be warranted probably forever, like a KD or LeBron or, like guys like that. You know what I mean? They're never going to be, no one's ever going to be like, yo, you're a bum. You're a bum. If they are, they're just like delusional. But I don't know, man. In a case with Clay, it's like haven't done anything, and even on that championship team, you still really weren't, the number one guy. So it's like,
Look, and listen, even in that last championship, Clay struggled a little bit in those playoffs, that 22 playoffs for the Golden State Warriors, but he had some big key moments, even in the finals. Currently this season, Klay Thompson is averaging for the Mavericks 10 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist on 34% field goal percentage. So I will never, and I'm gonna, as a fan, will always have that respect for Klay Thompson.
Oh yeah.
And this is kind of going to, we're going to talk about this when we bring up Chris Paul. I'm always going to have that respect for Klay Thompson and not call him a bum as a fan. I just don't know if I believe, even with all his credentials, that players, specifically a star level player like Ja Morant, that they can't call him a bum. I think Ja Morant has G14 classification, as Shaq says, to call Klay Thompson a bum, especially when it's two teams competing and it's just trash talk. I
Mhm.
understand people were upset because Ja Morant is in street clothes. So how dare you say anything and you're not even available to play tonight? Um, I just feel like I don't feel that Ja Morant was necessarily out of bounds because at the same token, we didn't really see what Klay Thompson said back to him,
Yeah, that's the
right?
thing. Yeah, that's a big point right there. We don't know what he said. All we know is again what the media showing us with John Morant. I'm sure they have different camera angles where you can try to figure out what Clay was saying, but they always want to kind of show some negative light on Ja. So
Exactly. And I think to close it out, bro, that's why I was a little disappointed in how Clay has handled this. Also, bring up the fact that Klay Thompson just has a habit for bringing things to the media, right? There's the infamous, this has been seen millions of times on social media sites where the Golden State Warriors were up 3-1. Um,
oh yeah.
LeBron James, there was an issue after that game when the Warriors went up 3-1. They asked Clay about it, and he basically stated that LeBron James must have got his feelings hurt, right? In a kind of sarcastic type of tone. When that word got back to LeBron James in his post media interview, it's kind of like we see LeBron James like flip a switch. And
hmm
from that point on, the Cavaliers rung off three straight and won the
I love
2016
that.
finals.
Bro, I absolutely love that because
So
he was hearing about that in real time. Like
exactly. So
I
it's
love
like
that.
Clay has a history of this, right? So to your point, I just think when you have a certain narrative that's already being pushed on John Morant, I just don't like to see a player such as Clay add on to it and fuel the fire in that way.
hmm
But we'll see how it goes. I can't wait to see the next time that they play. Um, what's beef? It is what it is. No love lost. Uh, to move on, uh, I think let's talk about the rest of the league. Obviously, so that's beef, right? Let's talk about the rest of the league, bro. I wanted to ask you, give me a team so far in the season that you think has a legitimate opportunity to make a finals appearance this season. And please, we've talked about the Thunder. I don't want to choose for you, but give me a team that maybe a shock for other people.
I'm coming around to the Houston Rockets, bro.
Okay.
I'm buying a ticket, for the hype with them. I think that they're finding their stride right now. Um, playing with these huge lineups. But they're also, kind of shaping Reed Shepard a little bit quicker than I had expected. I was a non-believer in him, when he first came into the league, and then a little bit this season. Wasn't quite sure really about his plays as an NBA point guard. I watched him against Denver on Friday night. He hit like 5 or 6 threes. I think he was the leading scorer for that Houston Rockets team with like 25 or 27. So I think they have a nice chance of giving OKC a run for their money, man, in the West. I think that if they can obviously maintain their health, I think they have an absolute shot. So they'd be my pick right now. Maybe it's like a dark horse, a dark horse, but like a juggernaut dark horse, if that makes sense.
No, that makes absolute sense, bro. And I just pulled up Reed Shepard's stats and I like literally had the reaction of like eye popping, like his eye popping stats. 13 points a
Yeah,
game, 3 assists. He's shooting 48% from three, bro.
yeah.
And 50% from the field as a 6'2" guard.
Being generous, right? With 6'2", like,
Very generous. Very
yeah,
generous.
bro. Yeah,
Bro, that is amazing. I knew he was playing better and I saw a lot of the game against Denver. He had 27
yeah,
points as you stated. But I didn't realize his numbers was this good. He's
yeah.
playing very, very well. Um, so I'm not mad at that Houston Rockets pick. One thing of note with them, they've been one of the top offenses in the league, right? And it's special because they're playing these jumbo lineups and they're just killing teams on the offensive glass, like absolutely killing teams. I feel like when I watch the Rockets play, every time a shot goes up on their end, it feels like Steven Adams is getting his hand on a basketball somehow and just keeping a possession alive. Um,
Yeah.
you couple that with Shingun and Jabari and Tari Eason and Kevin Durant, like they have some tall, lanky forwards, not even bringing up Amin Thompson, the freak athlete that he
Bro,
is at 6'6". So
it's insane.
they're for them to have a top offense and not necessarily have a bunch of shooters per se, is very impressive. Very impressive. Um,
Yeah.
I'm not mad at that dark horse at all. For me, my team, and I was watching them last night of this recording. I think the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to represent
Ooh,
the East in the finals.
ooh.
I
I
think
like
the
that.
I think the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to represent the East in the NBA finals.
Now, let me ask you this. What makes you very high on them, given that the roster's kind of the same, maybe save for Lonzo Ball, and a couple other young guys. But what makes you feel like this is the year? Just because the East is so down?
I feel like it's a multitude of things. I think a big reason, as you just stated, a lot of East. We keep saying this every episode. A lot of East Coast or Eastern Conference teams are just down and out. When you say the Indiana Pacers are the worst team in the NBA, missing their star point guard and Tyrese Halliburton. Obviously Boston is missing Jason Tatum, but playing a little bit better as of late. So that's one thing where a lot of Eastern teams are just they're dealing with some issues currently. But also, bro, there hasn't been a change, a recent change. But one thing I've noticed is DeAndre Hunter,
Hmm.
right? When I'm watching the Cleveland Cavaliers play, DeAndre Hunter, every time I watch them, I'm like, wow, okay, he's really contributing and being a positive player for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I feel like he's helping in a sense that Darius Garland has been injured for a large part of this season. So they've needed a little bit of a step up from a lot of different players offensively. DeAndre Hunter being one of them. Let me check out his stats, bro, just to show you what I'm talking about. Bro, DeAndre Hunter is averaging 18 points, 4.8 rebounds, 2 assists on 45% shooting. Um,
Gee,
that's big time for them right now.
that is
Like,
huge. Yeah.
so that's huge for them. And I think that's a step up from the production they were getting last season to begin last season from Karis LeVert, right? I think he's a better fit with Cleveland, and they have a legitimate small forward to round out their starting five. When you think about their starting five, bro, Darius Garland, uh, quick, lightning quick guard, finally
Mhm.
healthy and playing this season, can shoot the three. Donovan Mitchell, we know what the stud that he is. Shoots the three, athletic, smaller guard, but just has a knack for big moments. You add an 18 point per game scorer in DeAndre Hunter with Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. That starting five is really, really good and impressive, bro. Very
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah, they're legit across the board, I think, for sure.
And then not just they're not top heavy in my opinion, right? They have Porter, a nice guard off the bench. So they have guys that could come off the bench and really contribute. Dean Wade is as a hustle type of player, hustle forward, can shoot the three. So they have players that can come off the bench and spell minutes. And in the NBA playoffs, you really only need an 8-man rotation.
Hmm.
Um, where they stand, I think this is their year. I think they're hungry. I think they know they have the one up on most Eastern Conference teams. I think they know that the New York Knicks and probably the Milwaukee Bucks are probably their biggest competitors, and the Detroit Pistons. Excuse me, not let's not leave them out. I think they know that those three teams are the teams they have to look out for. I can really see the Cleveland Cavaliers making it to the finals this season, bro.
Interesting, bro. I like that. I like that. I didn't expect you to say the Cavs.
They are my pick to make it to the like I'm pretty much set on it. I
Yeah.
think if we were to see them match up against the Knicks in the playoff series, it would be a dogfight. But I think if they find the heart that they've been missing these past few seasons, which I think they will, I think
Hmm.
Cleveland would prevail. I think they have enough to size and length to guard Giannis if they ever match up with the Bucks. Boston, I don't think has enough in terms of star power. And the Detroit Pistons, I don't think they just may not be experienced enough playoff wise to really take them out.
Okay.
So
You know who
I'm
I
thinking I'm
slept
going.
on?
Go ahead.
You know who I slept on in the East, bro? The
Who?
Toronto Raptors.
Raptors. I think they just beat the Cleveland Cavaliers as we
Yeah,
speak.
as we're speaking right now, Hoop fans, they're 13-5. They just beat the Cavs. I don't know if we, have faith in them come playoff time, if, they sustain, um, their strength going into the playoffs. Obviously, we have a long time, but maybe watch out for them. Brandon Ingram just had 37 points. So,
Oh my goodness. Now I believe this they're coming off a back to back. I believe Cleveland's coming off a back to back.
yeah, yeah. So
So
we'll
a lot
see.
of times this could be a scheduled loss, but even without that being said, this is impressive. The Toronto Raptors has been hooping.
Yeah.
They have a weird lineup, bro.
They do have a weird, it is strange on paper. Like you just even watching it's weird. Like, well, we could probably talk about that for a
Nah,
little
let's talk
bit.
about them. I mean,
Emmanuel quickly at the point. Do we like that?
it's working
It
so
is
far.
working. It is working. And then you have like Scotty Barnes as that point forward. So it's like he like offsets it a little bit. I don't know, man.
They have a lot of ball handlers.
They do.
They have a lot of ball handlers, and one thing I can say is they have a decent mix of guys who are not vets, right? They're not old,
Mhm.
but
Mm-mm.
they're also not very young either and inexperienced, right? Brandon Ingram has been in the league for more than a few seasons now. RJ Barrett, this is like his fourth,
Yeah.
fifth season, I believe. Um, Manuel quickly's been in the league for a little bit. Scotty Barnes has been in the league for a little bit, right? So they're still youthful, but
Hmm.
not inexperienced. And I think that's a big thing for them right now. And even with Emmanuel quickly playing the point guard position, they have four guys on the floor that can handle it in that starting five, right?
Yeah.
And I like that they're sharing the basketball. They're playing aggressive, high pressure defense. And they seem to just be having a lot of fun and very happy for each other, right? Which is to me is surprising because they have a lot of guys who are similar in certain ways, but they're not getting in each other's way right now.
All facts, bro.
Yeah, I think they're impressive. So I think they can make some noise. I just don't know if they're ready to. I don't know if they're a contender. I wouldn't say that. But great season so far for them. So that was great, bro. You said the Houston Rockets are your dark horse. I'm putting my claim down that the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to make it to the NBA Finals. I think they will represent the Eastern Conference. That's my hot take as of right now. Moving on. So we spoke about one beef to start the podcast. Let's talk about another beef that was brewing this past week as well. So on Gilbert Arenas podcast or NBA content show that he has with Nick Young, Kenyon Martin, and Brandon Jennings to say. There was basically I believe they were just speaking about, Draymond's antics this season. Draymond, I believe, had a situation. I'm not even sure what they were actually talking about, but he had a situation in the past few weeks, right? Altercation, verbal altercation, like Draymond normally does every game, basically. And Kenyon Martin had made some comments, basically stating that, um, paraphrasing, I believe, and let me know if I'm off, that Draymond wouldn't necessarily do those things in his day or
Yeah.
back in the day, right? He wouldn't be one of those, aggressive, rah rah type of guys in his day. Um, this led to Draymond responding via his podcast and basically ran down his credentials and pretty much ethered or tried to ether Kenyon Martin's career, right? Stating that Kenyon Martin was the number one pick in the 2000 draft, only has one All Star to his name, that he made it to the finals. So he sniffed the finals, but he didn't get a taste. So, he wasn't successful when he made it to the finals. And obviously, Draymond's a four-time champion, basically stating that he basically kind of summarized it that Kenyon Martin underachieved as the number one pick, and as a 35th pick, Draymond has overachieved. Right?
Right.
That was basically his sentiment. This led to a clapback from Kenyon Martin, and he basically named and listed like 200 power forwards or 200 players or something like that. But he
Insane.
named like 200 power forwards that were better than Draymond Green in an all-time attempt to ether move. Did you see this, bro? And what is your reaction?
Yeah, I had it sent to me a couple times too by some buddies. I think I don't think Draymond was green or I was gonna say I can't even talk, dude. I said I think that Draymond wasn't wrong in his clapping back because I think that Kenyon Martin has a tendency to just kind of go a little like to this hater mode, and maybe that's just his personality, but he comes off as very bitter sometimes. Two Michigan guys, I didn't know they're both from Saginaw. I knew Draymond was from Saginaw, didn't know uh Kenyon Martin was from Saginaw, but yeah, whew, I don't know if I don't know if this is top news. It's a little weird that Kenyon Martin's beefing with a guy right now that's currently, obviously in the NBA. But I don't really think that there's argument to be made that Kenyon Martin didn't underachieve for being a top pick. Draymond was totally right, man. But was Kenyon really wrong with that list though of guys that were better than? I think it was 20 power forwards, but he did size it a little bit and say like I can name 200 better players than you, which
Yeah. He stated 200 players, but then he named like 20 power forwards. So you're
yeah,
right.
yep,
And also to give some more context, when it started, Kenny Martin basically called Draymond a fake tough guy. He
yep.
stated that Draymond's antics are calculated, that he does things to people who won't necessarily react or respond to him physically. Um, so that's what kind of started off, and that's what made Draymond go on his podcast and try to ether. So you asked me, was he off for naming that many players that are better than Draymond,
Specifically his position.
specifically the power forward position?
Yep.
So, so I saw some of the people that he named, at the end of that video clip. He said something like, for ish and giggles, Popeye Jones. Like he started naming some like outlandish people.
Reggie Evans.
Reggie Evans, uh, Nene who used to play for the Nuggets back in the day. Tim Thomas. Like he was naming. He went from, he named the usual suspects of power forwards, but he got disrespectful at the
He
end.
did. He did. He did.
He got disrespectful. And on this particular point, I'm on Draymond's side.
Me too.
I
Yeah.
do think because of Draymond's personality, right? And a lot of people similar to John Morant, who we spoke on, they don't necessarily like Draymond. So a lot of people make unfounded attempts, in my opinion, to downplay his greatness. Draymond's a four-time champion for a reason.
Hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Draymond as a duo with Stephen Curry is one of the greatest duos we've ever seen in NBA history. That's a fact.
I agree. I agree. And I'm hearing like I just a couple hours ago I was watching a Paul Pierce clip. He's going viral all the time for saying stuff. He said that Draymond Green would only be an all-time great defender in this era, the era that he's playing in, that he's played in for the past like 12, 13 years. Um, I disagree with that. I think Draymond could probably play in almost any era and just specifically defend. I mean, his offensive bag was never there, like so if that's his calling card in any era, I think that he would find a way. Like,
Defensively.
yeah,
So he stated that he wouldn't be as great as a defender. Is that what he said?
yeah, he said he thinks that he would only be an all-time great
All-time
defender in
great
this
defender.
era. So I don't know. I feel like if he was playing back then, he'd be like a Charles Oakley type of like Anthony Mason type of dude. Maybe he's not as big as those guys,
And
but like
I was just about to say that my only issue with that is Draymond is only 6'5",
yeah,
right?
those guys are
But
6'8", 6'9".
yeah, those guys were just taller, bigger guys, right? As far as being an all-time defender, even though Draymond's only 6'5", people don't take into account Draymond's wingspan.
Right.
Draymond has like a 7 foot something wingspan, and that makes up for a lot of his height deficit, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, it's that's a hard one for me because I feel like positions were a little bit more pronounced back then, right?
Hmm.
You had a particular size of people playing the power forward position. You had particular people handling the basketball. I don't think that Draymond's on ball defender skills, I never felt like they were amazing. Like him as an on ball defender, right? I think Draymond's strength as a defender is help side, right? He can switch out on guards, and but he's not necessarily like a lockdown on
Right.
ball defender against
Right.
wings or guards. He's more of that in terms of playing like a big, being physical and then being help side. He's
Right.
tremendous in the help side.
Yes, exactly.
So I say all that to say I think that the power forward position was much more it was a much more dominant position back in the day. So I don't know if he would have been as good of a defender. I'm not sure if he would have been as an all-time defender either. I'm not sure. I don't
Hmm.
know. I don't know. But I mean, Scottie Pippen was one of the greatest defenders ever. He's 6'8", but I mean, he was kind of a jack of all trades as well. So that's a
He's
tough
such,
one.
yeah, dude, like Draymond's such a unique like build, like for an
Yes.
NBA guy. I don't really know if you could say there's another guy that really reminds you of Draymond Green. Like he's really the first and only person that I've ever seen with my eyes, the way because he's like we speak to builds. Like he's not fat, but he's certainly not skinny.
Not at all.
You know what I
You know what though? I'm tripping. You know why I'm tripping, bro? Because a favorite player of mine. I'm not sure if I want to say why he's a favorite player of mine, but Malik Rose from back in the day for the San Antonio Spurs was a 6'6" power forward, and a lot of times they placed him on Shaq, right? Shaq
mean?
Diesel. And the times when the Spurs were able to best the Lakers, he guarded Shaq a lot because Tim didn't necessarily want that smoke all the time. Let's just keep it
Hmm.
a fact. So he's somebody who was an undersized power forward. Now Draymond is a much better defender than even him, but I could see Draymond having some success in that way where he's undersized but he's physical and he's mobile and Draymond's IQ is his biggest asset, right? So even if you had bigger power forwards that wanted to post him up and try to like use their height against him, similar to
Hmm.
some big men do today, Draymond's smart to use his feet and get around in front. Like he's just a smart guy.
Hmm.
Um,
Extremely quick hands.
extremely quick. Okay, so to close out this topic a little bit, who's the better player, Draymond Green or Kenyon Martin?
Easily. Draymond Green.
Okay,
Easily. For
in a
me.
vacuum,
Um, I think early on, if Kenyon Martin would have assisted, because Kenyon Martin before Denver Nuggets, before Clippers, um, Kenyon Martin, like he was an all-star one time. He led that Nets team in scoring when they got beat by the Lakers in 02-03.
yes,
So I think he led with like 22 a game, like 22 and 8. Um, obviously it didn't mean much, but in the finals run, but you got to sustain some some talent, you know what I mean, to be able to make it to the finals, of course, especially back then. Um, so I mean, if he would have sustained it, he would definitely have a huge argument. Who knows where he would have been if that was the case, but I think with him, he didn't really have a handle. You know what I mean? He was uber athletic, could block shots, was dunking everything, could hit the mid range. He just wasn't really, maybe as versatile with like post ups, like ISO post ups and all that. Um, Totally different game in my opinion from Draymond Green, but I think Draymond clears him all time for sure.
well, I think he clears them all the time as far as accolades. I don't even think that's a debate. As far as being a player, I'm looking at Kenyon's numbers.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, there. I remember the Denver Nuggets Kenyon Martin and like the later years Kenyon Martin. I was a little bit
yeah.
younger when he was playing for the Nets. Bro, his numbers are not bad at all. You
No,
talk
they're
about his final when they made it to the finals in '03. He averaged 18 and 9 for that finals team in the playoffs. His two best seasons, he's like a 16 and 8, 16 and 9 guy. So he was no scrub by any
oh
means.
no, not at all. Not at all. I
Um,
just think, in an era where there were so many other great power forwards, he really didn't get maybe his proper respect, but having one All-Star appearance in like 03, 04 was definitely something to be said, man, especially with that generation's power forwards. It's
it
like,
was notable. It was notable.
yeah.
And to be honest, bro, I'm not gonna lie. In a vacuum, I don't know. Like I know Draymond's much more decorated.
It's just hard for me to say, like, I guess from an overall basketball player standpoint, because Draymond is doing more. I feel like,
It's tough. It's
well,
tougher than I thought.
I don't think Draymond can really lead a team with, like, okay, say it was just Draymond and Steph, because that's essentially what that Nets team was with Kidd. And hey, if we're gonna kind of compare teams, I don't think Draymond would be able to carry them, next to another all-star.
It's
Uh,
tough though because,
Tough.
bro, even with that being said, when they lost in 2016, had they won that series, I do think Draymond would have been Finals MVP.
Yeah. Oh
You,
yeah. Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
what I mean? I do think he would have been fine because his game seven, he had like 30 in game seven. So
Yeah. He like 30 something.
I just think it's up in the air. It's much closer than I thought it to be. Kenyon Martin's career, I didn't remember it as well as when I'm looking at the numbers. He
Yeah.
played a lot better than I thought. And he was the number one pick. So that's a crazy debate. We'll never know because they didn't play against each other like that. To move on, bro, we're gonna hit some quick hitters and get out of here. Chris Paul, he's retiring. He announced his retirement a few days ago from this recording. Talk to me, bro. What was your just thoughts on Chris Paul and his retirement announcement?
It's sad. I mean, to me, I mean, it's obviously a great thing. He's his highly decorated career. He's retiring with the team he had a lot of success with. It's sad though, man. It's like one of the guys that we watched growing up. It's kind of it's the reality of it is a lot of these all-time greats are really falling off and retiring and all that and moving on to bigger and better things. But man, kudos to Chris Paul. He's top five point guard of all time. Some people rank him higher, some people rank him lower. To me, I feel like he's like definitely a top eight. Hell of a career, over 20K points, over 10,000 assists, like 2,500 steals. The list goes on. Um, Probably the point guard of our generation,
Yeah.
um, so to speak. I mean, he's had a hell of a career. I
Yeah.
really wish that this season would go a little bit differently for him. I had a lot of high hopes with this Clippers squad, but you know, it is what it is. But man,
Yeah.
hell of a legendary career for sure.
Heck of a career, and to piggyback off, I think he's no question the top five point guard of all time, and I think he has a case to be potentially top three as well, right? Had he won a championship, I don't think there would be a debate if he
Oh
was a
yeah.
top three point guard, right? Um, so that's the one big thing that's kind of eluding him, that has eluded him in his career. Unfortunately, I do think that there's uh, a subset of people that really don't like Chris Paul and his personality, right? And maybe didn't like some of, he played very physical and he has a certain competitive personality that not everyone like as a hoop fan, right? And I think that's why he's ranked a little bit lower than I feel he should be. I think there's no question there were not five better point guards in the NBA history than Chris Paul to me. Um, and I do think it's very unfortunate that his biggest chance to win a championship, in my opinion, with the Houston Rockets, when they were going to take down that juggernaut of a Golden State team, I believe it was Game Five. At the end of Game Five, him straining his hamstring, I believe. I think that changed everything for him. And even with that being said, he still made it to the NBA Finals with the Phoenix Suns, and unfortunately, they lost to a dominant Giannis. So he's had his opportunities, heck of a career, but it was time.
Yeah, oh yeah,
It
for
was
sure.
time when I watched him play. You can just see as a smaller point guard, he has no separation from a defender. Like
Hmm.
he's dribbling the ball over half court and he has to give it up because if they're pressuring him hard, he can't get any separation. He's too small. He no longer has any quickness. He's gonna be calling for screens just to get to the 3 point line at this point. So when you cross half court, as a hooper, bro. When you cross half court and you automatically got to put your hip on a defender, you may not have it as much anymore.
Right. Defender has a lot of leverage there with Chris
Yeah,
Paul, bro. I will say, I think he had a slew of unfortunate situations in his career. Obviously, the first one that comes to mind is like the veto with that Lakers trade. I think, man, if he was to pair up with Kobe Bryant, even at that point in Kobe's career, like I think they would at least got one. Um, I don't think that's really hard to really visualize. And then you mentioned, the situation with the Rockets, and then, his lone finals appearance, and when they got beat by the Bucks, like it sucks, bro. He
it
could at
does.
least had one.
He should. I think you play his career out.
Yeah.
Like how Bill Simmons and them say, if you play his career out 100 times or 10 times, you would have got a championship and probably nine other realities, right?
Hmm.
Like if you play his career over, he was that good and he was that
Yeah.
impactful to winning. So I think we can end it there, man. When the season is over, hopefully the Clippers can kind of pick it up a little bit for him. But heck of a career for Chris Paul. And salute from Hoop fans. I think this has been a great episode, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's the Hoop Fans Podcast. I'm K Rose,
It's your boy Matt. Thank y'all for tuning in.
and we out.